have one board member dialing in, and we're setting him up on FaceTime. He'll be sitting on the table and participating, and we'll do our best to make sure he can hear us and you can hear him. We'd like to start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then Director Miller will be doing our student recognition.
Well, things look different out here. Okay, so Jackson Elementary School third grader Damian Macalino has accomplished something most adults cannot claim. He is a published author. One day in his class as a second grader, Damian approached his friend William with an idea for a book. What if he wrote the words and William drew the pictures? After 2 weeks of working on the project, the pair finished with their compilation of what-if scenarios with an entry for each letter of the alphabet. After reading the book to his classmates and receiving a favorable reaction, Damian decided to take things to the next level. With both his parents being authors themselves, Damian didn't have to go far for guidance. His father Raymond helped him locate an artist to do professional versions of the illustrations, and both parents assisted with the self-publication process. Damian has shared his book, What If an Alligator Ate an Avalanche, with his new class and with other classes at the school, including that of his younger sister, Helena. He is also, is that Helena or Helena? Helena. Okay, well, I'm sorry. He has also held book signing events and sold several copies. The book is dedicated to William, who has been there since the very beginning. Teachers and parents alike have told Damian and his family how valuable his book has been in getting their students to be less intimidated by writing and excited about the process of creating books of their own. Damian's commitment to the project during its development has been unfaltering. His confidence in public speaking has grown, and learning the business side of the project has given him a deeper appreciation for the value of money and for the importance of financial planning and responsibility. So I'd like to present this to Damian. So come on up, David. Show us your book. So this is a certificate of recognition. This certificate is awarded to Damian Macalino, third grader at Jackson Elementary School, in recognition of his outstanding literary and entrepreneurial accomplishments and positive representation of the Hillsboro School District.
Can we have you read maybe a page or two of your book to us?
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great. Do you want to bring this over here?
Yeah, I'm drawing it, but I'm not taking a picture.
What's your favorite page? And then I'll hold it up to the screen.
Hey, go ahead, maybe in front of the podium so we can see.
Okay, that's what I can. Oh, all right. We'll do it over here.
There we go.
All right, that's better.
What if the dodo dances with the donuts? What if the mango did a place plant in a flagpole?
Can you hear?
Go ahead.
Got that?
Keep going.
What if the bear bought baloney from the bee? What if the camel coughed up a cockatiel? What if an elephant sipped an enormous espresso? What if a gorilla got grumpy at a gurgling goose? What if a hopping hippo hiccuped at a hummingbird? What if an iguana ice skated on the ice rink? What if a giant jumped on a gigantic jelly bean? What if a kangaroo pooped in the kitchen? What if a lion licked a leaking lollipop? What if a marvelous mom marveled at a mess? What if a new inner ninja nibbled on a nut? What if an octopus and an orange lived in an office? What if a pig poked a pickle? a quail quilted quietly? What if a rooster ran into a roadrunner? What if a silly snake slurped some seawater? What if a tiger tickled a tiny tourist? What if a unicorn sat in an upside-down umbrella? What if a vulture vacuumed a vampire bat? What if a walrus walked with a wicked witch? What if an ox x-rayed a fox? What if a yak yapped at a yacht? What if a zebra zoomed on a zip line?
Great. Do you have any current book that you're working on?
No, I'm waiting until this one sells more.
Well, I love the illustrations and the idea. Thank you so much for doing that. That's a wonderful thing to do.
Can I get a picture with you and your family? Oh, here. Can you go over here?
Is that book for sale?
Yes, it is. And where do people find
Where
it?
can we? I mean, right now.
Jacobson's
Sign card.
Books downtown.
Where?
At Jacobson's Books downtown.
Awesome.
Ready? 12 and one more.
Nice job.
Don't forget that. Gotta have that. Okay, so moving right along. Next up is a student performance. So we have with us tonight William McCourt, and you never know what you might find at an open mic night, but last month our communications director heard Glencoe Jr. Will McCourt performing at the Dugout in Hillsboro, and knew she had to convince him to come to the board meeting and play for us. Will is a recent transplant to Hillsboro, having moved here from Sparta, New Jersey in 2012. His passions are playing guitar, ukulele, and mandolin, and raising reptiles. He has 4 snakes, 2 water dragons, a chameleon, and a gecko. He hopes to breed distinct varieties of snakes one day. Will also holds a black belt in Taekwondo and has participated in wrestling and track programs at the high school level. This year, he has joined Glencoe's choir directed by Vance Seeley. Will sings at a few local open mics events around Hillsboro and has enjoyed positive feedback from the audiences. He works part-time for Subway and occasionally helps out with a local contractor. We are fortunate to have him with us tonight to perform a couple of songs. Please help me welcome Will McCourt.
Get somewhere they don't know.
Getting all of the blunts, making a terrible mess of my funds, getting all the plans outside, going home with private eyes, for most of my life, wasting my time on the line, at least for the better. Yes, for the better.
I'm a stalker for Charlie. Is there like a cool singer-songwriter pose you would like to strike? Something indicative of your talent. You're not making out. This is my talent. One more. One. All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, this is probably one of the favorite things about being videotaped. I have to say, this videotape is to see these, and to have students be able to watch this with their parents, and parents see this and know that these kids are inspirations. I mean, it's really proud. Mom should be proud, and mom should be proud.
So tonight we have one more recognition that is not on the agenda. Tonight we would like to recognize our board secretary, Margaret Beatty, who is retired from the school district after 21 years of service. Margaret was first hired by the district in 1992 as a secretary in the special education department. And over the years she's filled many administrative roles, including time in the ESL and migrant education secretary as a secretary in my department, a department secretary, and secretary to the communications department. We are happy that she spent the last 5 years of her career with us serving as the board secretary. In addition to keeping the seven of us on our toes, Marva is one of the most organized, detail-oriented people that I have had the pleasure of working with. Not only is she responsible for keeping us on task, she orchestrates all of the information gathering that happens behind the scenes to keep us informed in a timely manner. I'm picturing this a little bit like a ringleader of a circus as she coordinates with the superintendent and cabinet members, all the different departments, and trying to keep them on time so that we all are prepared for our meetings. As a board secretary, she's also had to spend countless hours learning the ins and outs of public meeting laws and all of the OSBA guidelines that help us run our meetings smoothly. So while she does not officially retire until the end of November, we wanted to recognize you, Marva, this evening at your last regular session board meeting. So it is with much gratitude that we thank you for your dedication to our district, and we present you with your golden apple commemorating your years of service in the school district.
So this apple actually has sat on Marva's desk for years. She evidently swiped one back in the day. Instead of having to present it to someone else, it's been sitting on her desk. So being the good delegator that I am, I asked her to have it engraved for herself. Turns out that other people thought that was a tacky move, but here we go. One of the big pluses of my job is I get to attend a lot of graduations, and there is nothing better than attending a graduation and hearing a great commencement speaker, seeing the students speak. And one of the favorite comments that I heard from a student one time is that she was encouraging her fellow students to go out and serve others, to go out and act in a way that is unselfish, is kind, and act in a way that exhibits great gratitude. She also went on to say that no positive acts are insignificant. Now, when I think about the way Marva describes her job, when we were getting ready we were talking about, well, it's going to be hard to fill your shoes, and she said, no, just find someone that's a great nitpicker and a nagger. But the way that we view your work, Marva, is much different than that. When I actually had a chance to look back through your file and see a number of the jobs that you've done over the last 21 years, and when I looked through your file, to me it spoke of just service after service after service, and that's what you've provided to this district. You're one of those people that you haven't squandered those moments in your life where you have an opportunity to give back to others, and that is something that we appreciate in just a huge way. My hopes for you as you have your own graduation and you move on to bigger and better things is that you get a garden to your heart's content, that your insomnia goes away, that you get to do that fancy dancing, what is that, English country dancing, that you never have to proofread another document, and that you someday are the president of the Jane Austen Society Board.
I just want to say that it has been my privilege to work for this district for 21 years in many different departments with wonderful people, and working with the superintendent and the school board has been the best for the last 5 years.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along. The first actual item on our agenda is to approve the agenda. Looking for a motion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, and I need a second. Perfect. It's been moved by Janine, seconded by Monty to approve the agenda as printed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Eric, are you there?
Sorry,
Thank you. I'll try my best to ground you. This is our audience participation time, and I have one request, and if anyone else in the audience wanted to speak to the board, you can fill out a form at the back table, and Marva will get it to us. Public participation in board meetings is governed by board policy DDH, public participation in board meetings. Patrons can comment on specific agenda items at the beginning of the meeting or at the discretion of the board chair may be deferred to the time that the item is before the board and stated in the agenda. Comments about non-agenda items will be heard during audience time at the beginning of the regular board meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. An individual speaking on behalf of the group will be allowed 5 minutes, and total audience participation time shall be limited to 30 minutes on a first-come, first-served basis. So we're going to start. We have Larry Thompson. And Larry, I think you know the drill. Your name and your address for the record, and then I'll set the little timer for you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Larry Thompson, 3160 Northeast Broadway Street, Hillsboro, Oregon, 97123. Is that it? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so as most of you know, my name is Larry Thompson. I have to mention that. I'm the board president for City View Charter School, and joining me in the audience from our board, we have Islam Khalife. I think that's, I don't see anybody else came in. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to say welcome back to the new school year. Congratulations to Kim on your new position as board chair. And also congratulations to Glenn and Virgil Herrick on your elections to the board. City View has gotten off to a strong start, and we're certainly enjoying this extra shot of nice weather so the kids can run around in the sunshine and their expectation of field work is a little brighter. We're fully staffed and have a few new faces in the classrooms providing support. Each of our 8 classes is full with our 24 students, with the exception of one class which is currently refilling one spot. And our waiting list is currently running at about 288 people. I want to make sure that each of you know that you're welcome to come visit City View and get a better idea of what's in store for this year. Please just give us a call and we'll be happy to set something up. Also, we'll be putting together a brief overview of City View that we'll provide to each of you as soon as it's complete, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be basically a one-pager marketing detail. It'll be good for Glenn and Eric especially, who are newest to the board. The rest of you know more, but it'll probably be useful for everyone. Some of you have been out to City View. I think most all of you have been out to City View, but it'd be good to see you again this year. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving right along, next on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved by Janine and seconded by Monty. Any questions or comments?
I just renew my comments said in the past. Objection one to treating the process of a retirement and automatic rehire to the same position as a consent item. We've talked about this in the past, and I again want to reiterate we are stewards of the public trust and public funds, not simply the public funds allocated to HSD, but also as representatives elected. We owe responsibility to taxpayers for all the money that is in our control in spending. Voluntary participation in the process of rehiring retirees ultimately results in higher fees paid by taxpayers. And it's a choice that we are making to participate rather than simply invite retirees to work as long as they care to the district under the full benefits of being an employee. I would I'm not going to try to pull these out each time, but I will comment, and I will vote against the consent agendas when they happen to come.
Any further discussion, Glenn?
Yeah, I just want to echo, because this is my first time actually to come across this situation sitting at the board. I'm in full agreement with Winnie. These sorts of things should be discouraged. I understand that it costs us less money to do a rehire, but in my opinion, if a person wants to leave, we should let them go. And if they want to work till the end of the year, I think that that's preferable. So I'm not imposing a policy type situation here, but I will also be going no because of that.
Anyone else? Eric? Can you see Eric?
Yeah, I don't have much to add, but I agree with Glenn and Wayne on that.
Oh yeah, good. Go ahead and repeat that. We got the mic in.
But I just said I don't have much to add.
Okay. I was going to say I don't have anything to add. That's what I think I heard. Anyone else? Mike?
So I wanted a chance to just give you some of the numbers behind when we make a decision like this. And I do agree that we are stewards of taxpayer money, and I want to give you some information that may make you change your mind. First of all, allowing someone to retire and then continue working for the remainder of the year, that is fully acceptable under the law. We're specifically talking about two staff members that would like to retire in December and work towards the end, work for till the end of the year, and that's what's in the packet that we're talking about. Allowing a staff member to do that provides consistency for us. We know that if someone retires and leaves right now, we will not get the same candidate pool that we would get if we do this during the normal cycle and rotation, or during the normal hiring process. The other important thing for you to know is that it does save the district money. When someone retires, these two people, for example, when they retire, our agreement is that they would move to 91% of their salary instead of 100%. Now, they would not get paid holidays, they would not get insurance paid, they do not get PERS paid. So there's a number of things that would actually save us money, and I believe save the state overall money, because we would have people in these positions anyway. Not only would they be receiving their retirement, but we would have people in these positions anyway. So this gives us an opportunity to not only have greater consistency for the remainder of the year, but we also get an experienced employee for a reduced rate for until the end of the year. So that's why it minimizes disruption. It does save us money. I don't understand how this would cost the state more, because again, this person would be receiving their retirement and we would be paying the principal anyway. So those are my comments. I think this is it's allowable under the law, and it saves us money as a whole.
Okay, now I'll go on with you. Okay. I want to clarify, it doesn't impact our PERS rate and what we're paying. I'm looking at Adam, so I'm assuming you would.
It doesn't impact our rate.
And so there's not, okay, that helps. And on this one, I wanted to, there was someone specific who's retiring from a building that's an options program, and I think it's really important in our option schools to take that into account. It's not just an elementary principal only replacing there, it's a principal who is trained in STEAM, which is a national program that's been recognized, and I want to make sure that in this model, I hope in our options models, we have time to not only hire a quality candidate, but overlap them with the person that is retiring, because I think it's additional training. It's not just a principalship, and so that one was a concern for me specifically. And then I've got Wayne again.
So, and every time I say it, every time I get the same three replies. It's legal. It provides consistency because they were going to leave anyway, presumption that they were going to leave anyway at that time, and that it costs HSD less. It is perfectly legal. I'm not claiming otherwise. And in fact, I don't fault the people for going after any legal method of getting the best for their family and themselves as possible. I have no qualms with them seeking all legal possibilities. What I have always taken issue with is that it's our choice to rehire, and the presumption, let's face it, the reason these usually happen is because it's a financial benefit to them. And the reality of these cases is that they really aren't retiring in November. They're really working to the end of the year. Their intention as a good, honest, great, wonderful employee is to satisfy all those commitments they've made to not leave people hanging, to not walk out of the classroom, to not do those things. And the most likely scenarios are that these people continue to work to when they really want to retire. So presuming that they all leave and that we're always left in a lurch in these situations doesn't speak true, because they're fundamentally not retiring at the time. They're picking a retirement date at the end of the year and performing the economic maneuvering to allow them an extra benefit. I say it's an extra benefit because if they're getting more money, the taxpayers are paying more money than they would otherwise for the amount of work that we deliver. We contract with them for a specific benefit. We encourage them to stay. We love them. They're wonderful, dedicated employees. No qualm with them working until they really want to retire. But we set up, from a consistency standpoint, we create an environment where they, under these circumstances, can expect to perform the legal maneuverings of the system to get an additional benefit. And we as stewards of public trust and public funds are responsible for making the best decisions. And for most of these cases, we create an environment where they assume they'll be able to do this. If we had a position that said, you know what, we love you, stay as long as you want, we'll pay you as long as you want, it will cost us more, and I don't dispute that, plus the HSD budget, but it's not more than we expected. It's exactly what we contracted with them to do. Yes, if they perform under this, the HSD budget funds are reduced, but overall, more money gets paid to the person. That money comes from the taxpayers. And whether it comes from the HSD budget or from somebody else's budget, ultimately, there's no magic money, it comes from us, the people. And we don't have to support an environment that encourages encourages the maneuver when what we really want is for them to stay as long as they want as an employee. And so that's my moral objection to participating in this when we don't need to. It's not legally required. We can simply say, you know what, we really don't do that anymore. We'd love to have you stay. We think you probably want to work because you just told us you were willing to come back and work the whole time. We'd love to have you stay the whole time. And I bet more often than not, that's what they'll do.
So what I don't agree with your statement is that it costs the state more than if we replace them, because we're actually, the system, whatever the system is, let's say that's Hillsboro and it's the state of Oregon, together, let's call that the system is actually paying less, because we would be paying a principal in that position. We would be paying them likely above 91%. They would get holiday pay, they would get insurance, and they would get PERS.
That's if they leave.
No, whoever we replace this person with is going to get all those things. So I agree that the person that is retiring and rehiring gets more money than they would have, but it actually costs the system less, because we would have someone in there that would be getting the holidays, the PERS, the insurance, and the full salary. So it actually costs the system less as a whole.
So, Mike, your underlying assumption is that they would leave in January anyway, and I would wait. I don't believe that. I think the vast majority would stay to the end of the year, and it wouldn't cost the city more. That's where we disagree.
I don't think that matters. In my argument, I don't think it matters because it costs the system less to do it this way. That's my contention.
When a person retires, they're going to get their retirement benefits.
Correct.
3 months.
After waiting period.
Wait 3 months.
Right.
At whatever point they trigger that, there's a retirement fund that has to go to work, and there's an empty job position to pay somebody new. So it's always going to cost more when someone retires. We can't do anything about that. We're simply saying that I don't see the math that doesn't cost us more money by the maneuver of having them come back immediately rather than encouraging them simply to stay. And with most of them staying, ultimately I believe the system pays.
So you're saying it would cost us more if they stay, is what you're saying. If they don't stay, it costs the system less. If they do stay, you're saying it costs more.
If they stay, it's the expected cost and not more. I believe if they leave early, that employee gets more than they would otherwise.
But it costs the system less. That employee may get more, but it costs the system less.
Right, so,
We would be paying
can I make a comment?
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, so I think, Mike, I think you're misunderstanding Wayne's argument, right? What Wayne is saying is he's comparing the two scenarios. Scenario one is the employee stays and waits until June to retire. Scenario two is the employee retires in December, but then gets rehired until June and receives salary in addition to retirement. Right? I think those are the two scenarios Wayne's comparing. Right? He's not talking about scenario 3 where the person retires in January and we get a new hire to work from January through June. That's not part of the discussion. It's the first two scenarios Wayne's comparing. He's saying that the system overall has to spend more if someone retires in January than if that same person had waited until June to retire.
Okay, I understand that. I do think scenario 3 should be part of the discussion as well.
I think it's a fair part of the discussion. I think from a reasonable expectation that is not anywhere near the frequent behavior that will happen.
Okay, I got Adriana.
I can see your argument, Wayne. I think the concern that I have is I feel like we're kind of
pointing fingers in a way. I'm looking at this a little deeper. I'm looking at it from my own personal perspective, my family, and there is a clock ticking, and yes, you're right, the individual, because of whatever loophole or however they're able to collect more. That would be a personal decision of what to do, and out of the goodness of my heart, I'd say I'm a $98,000, a year principal or whatever it is. I might look at that and say I'm retiring and, do it that way. I guess the thing that I'm just kind of getting at is I'm kind of treading the waters of my role with the board member and really looking at the personal decisions that these employees make. I really feel that they have a right to whatever their situation is. If they want to, like you said, add more money to their pocket, that's their personal. As long as it's, I understand it's legal, but I do understand your argument. I don't want to take from that. I just, as a board member, don't think that I have, a say in that. I think it's a personal decision, and I'm uncomfortable a little bit with the discussion.
Anyone else? Okay. So the motion on the table was, I believe, to approve the consent agenda. It was made by Janine and seconded by Monty. I'm going to ask folks to vote by a show of hands, and then we'll pick you up, Eric, after that. So all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. And are you raising yes? Okay. And all those opposed, please raise your hand. And Eric, what's your vote? Right. Thank you. Raise your hand now. So, Martha? Okay. So with the majority of the vote, motion passes. 43. Thank you. Next, we will move into action items, and we get to proclaim American Education Week. You're going to listen to me read a piece of paper and try to get through it. Here we go. For those who don't know, American Education Week is coming in November, and it's a board practice to read a proclamation explaining that it's American Education Week, and then we tend to do some sort of celebration for staff. So, our proclamations. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, schools give them hope for and access to a productive future. And whereas education employees, be they certified, classified, and technical support staff or administrators, work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And whereas our nation is celebrating the week of November 17th through the 23rd of 2013 as American Education Week with the theme, Great Public Schools, a Basic Right and Our Responsibility. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Directors of Hillsboro School District does proclaim the week of November 17th through 23rd as American Education Week in Hillsboro School District. The Board of Directors further encourages all citizens to extend their commitment to public education and to the future of our children by supporting our community schools through the contribution of time and energy. And what I think I need, after reading that lengthy piece, is a motion for the board to approve that resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution that you just read into the record.
Thank you. I second. It's been moved by Glenn and seconded by Adriana to proclaim it American Education Week. Any questions? Yes, Janine.
A comment, just to talk about what our timeline is, talk about what we're going to be doing for the...
Absolutely, yeah. So last year we tried something new, and it kind of worked. And so I'm going to suggest that we, if everyone's okay, of doing a modification of last year. So last year you found a great local farm that wanted to
donate all the
apples.
Free.
And after we got them last year and they were too big to manage, we talked to him about donating lunchbox size apples. And so I think that
he's doing a different brand. He offered to do a different, not brand, a different variety. And I believe it is a smaller, and it's called Liberty. And I'm not certain if this have you...
No, so this would be the first time Beth and I talked about it.
Because I can call him and talk to him about that.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be during board discussion time, but our meeting went long, so I got a chance to bring it up. So if you guys want to, if you're good with apples again, we're certainly happy to accommodate that.
Last year's been a tradition to deliver apples, and last year what the school board members did was helped with the packaging of the baskets and then delivering those to the schools, and I thought that part worked very well. So and Beth and communications department coordinated those efforts with us. So if people are interested in participating, and I send them to you, Beth, and we can set a
Yeah,
time.
and if you want to, if we're going to help talk to the farmer, then yeah, we should talk about one. That'd be great.
Perfect.
And then I just wanted to add another, I'm not sure, like in the past, we've sent a card with that. I kind of just wondered, because we do have a little bit of a timeline here, a little bit of a buffer, I thought it would be interesting to be able to personalize the school in that looking at a successful program or something within that school and being able to highlight that, and then we all sign it. So it really personalizes the school. It's generic. So I would be willing to help with that, but I would love to have others that divide and conquer that work.
Yeah.
It's just an idea.
So maybe we could put out some information and weekly update about who's interested and how we can help coordinate that.
I have an idea of how it could be coordinated,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's okay.
Sounds exciting.
Exciting. It made Monty happy.
And so with a motion on the table to proclaim it American Education Week, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect, motion passes. As we discussed earlier in work session, we're going to appoint budget committee members. Adam.
Yes, we have 4 vacancies and 5 applicants for those 4 vacancies. The board met 4 of those applicants during the work session. The one person who wasn't at the work session is somebody who's reapplying, Ellen Buckford. And she did call in, we found out during the, to tell us that she wasn't going to be able to make this evening. So.
All right, so as we discussed, what we will do for the board members who are here is we'll read each name. You get 4 votes, remember it's 5 people. And then Eric, I'll ask you for your 4 people at the very end. Yes.
I just had a question or a comment to say.
Yeah.
I just really appreciated those that could make it at the work session, and also I admired the energy and the passion because it was exciting.
It's always fun to have volunteers show up.
Yep.
We appreciate that. I'm going to read the names in the order that we met them this evening, okay? And Margaret's going to keep a tally. So, the first candidate is Rebecca Lance. If she's one of your 4 votes, please raise your hand.
Okay, you just need a moment to get your initials down here.
Eric, 1, 2, 3.
We'll do
I'm going to do Eric at the end.
Okay, I got it.
Okay? And next is Kathy Clark Thomas.
I found out she's from Forest Grove, fellow Forest Grove graduate.
Oh, let me fix that.
Hey!
Okay. And next is Angie Ellis. And Chris Berry. And the last one is Helen, and I'm going to get her last name wrong. Helen Noonan Hunsberger. Hunsberger. All in favor of Helen, please raise your hand. Thank you. And then Eric, your 4 names.
I guess I'll vote for Chris, Angie, Rebecca, and Helen.
Rebecca, Angie, okay. All right, got it.
Okay. Now, can you do a quick tally and tell us who the top 4 are? I feel like I'm in a pageant. Yeah. Okay. If we're counting right, we believe we have Chris Berry with, this is number, with 7 votes, and Angie Ellis with 7 votes. Kathy Clark Thomas with 6 votes, and Rebecca Lance with 6 votes.
That's correct.
Perfect. Now here comes the fun part that we also discussed in this session. 3 of the positions are a full 3-year term, and 1 is only a 2-year term. Anyone feel strongly about how to appoint one person to the smaller?
Do we have any volunteers?
Any volunteers?
Okay.
Mrs. Lance, thank you so much. Rebecca volunteers and therefore solving problems. Thank you.
I was really looking forward to rock, paper, scissors.
Or my history rock, paper, Leonard Spa.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So thank you and welcome to the party. And Adam and Mike, I would ask if we could please be in touch with Helen, and because there's so much other committee work and volunteer opportunities in the district, and she's been helping for a long time, it'd be great if we could find it.
She does have an interest, she said in her paper, she has an interest in eventually running for a school board position possibly, so I think I read that.
Okay, great, moving right along. Next up is Steve appointing the Achievement Compact Advisory Committee.
Okay, so annually, we need to appoint the Achievement Compact Committee. Last year, we had a larger committee than I bring forward to you this year. This year, we have Maureen Barnhart, who will serve as our HEA representative, and Eric Wyrock, who will serve as our HCU representative, and myself, Monique Mine, and John P., and our Senator Becky King-Smith is our administrative team. That's the group that I bring to you as approval. Also, I remember last year there was some interest in some potential board representation on this group.
Can we have board representation? At one point it was we could not have board representation.
I believe the board can sit on the group to contribute to the
conversation, but doesn't.
The non-program.
Okay. So if I can get a motion first, we'll do motion, and then we can take questions and comments. Don't all speak up at once.
I move we approve Steve Larson's slate of members to the Compact Advisory Committee.
And a second. Thank you. It's been moved by Monty, seconded by Janine. Any other questions or comments for Steve? Steve, you have a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it personally.
Yeah, don't take it personally, but I think when you hear the governor speak about the vision of the Achievement Compact and the movement to community being responsible for the children of our community, I wish that there was more folks participating. Is there an opportunity for community members to join it, or same thing, is there guidelines where it's only staff?
So what's in I don't know if it's legislation of the OAR is that we're required to have representation from two unions that are in the district, and that's where it ends. Okay. I'm happy to have more people contribute. I think part of the problem for us is that we do have a strategic planning group that does similar work, and this was in addition to most districts' processes that were currently in place. So it may be at some point that we want to just wrap them both together, but I'm not ready to do that just because the indicators have changed, timelines have changed, and so I like to see it standardized a little bit before we link it up.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So then,
I'm kind of curious, when you have these committees and you put these committees together, is there something that shows like what the timeline is? Because I know as a parent and a community member, it makes me a little nervous when people say, hey, can you volunteer for this? And before you jump on it, you want to know. So I know I can respect the fact that it's not a lot of people on here, because we're dealing with a lot of challenges. So there's only so much time that one has in one's day. So I guess that's just my.
And I would say that's probably the case why we didn't get volunteers. I think the will is there, but it's just right now it's one more thing.
So is there a time? When you ask for committee help, do you say this is the commitment? And
we'll probably meet about twice for this one. But yeah, if there are parents that you think you know that might be interested in having a conversation about compacts, I'd love that.
Maybe I missed it, but it's reflected all on feelings of dissatisfaction. Have you heard feedback from the prior year's processes about ineffectiveness or futility or subjects are closed? Do you sense anything from past years to indicate lack of?
No, I haven't heard that feedback. The feedback I have heard is how does this fit in with our strategic planning process that we already do. So
all those in favor of approving the Achievement Compact Advisory Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And next up is Mike, and continuing our discussion of the ESD participation.
Well, we had a thorough discussion on this during the work session and also last month. So at this point, I think we have provided all the information necessary, and I would recommend that the analysis that's been done and the attachment that you have regarding the resolution for our participation in the ESD be considered at this point and hopefully approved.
So we can start with the motion, please.
Move that we approve the Education Service District level participation as presented in the work session by Scott.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Perfect. It's been moved by Wayne and seconded by Glenn. And which one of you gentlemen would like to read the resolution?
Well, I fancy pair of glasses.
Yeah, there you go.
Resolution to request 65% of Northwest Regional ESD State School Fund revenues received on behalf of the Hillsboro School District be distributed directly to the Hillsboro School District. Whereas House Bill 3401 was approved by the 2013 Oregon Legislature, and whereas House Bill 3401 allows school districts in Clatsop, Columbia, Tillamook, Washington, Langford River, and Wasco counties to request up to 65% of all amounts received from the state school fund and attributable to the school district directly from the Education Service District. And whereas House Bill 3401 requires that a school district or board must make a request to the Education Service District Board by November 1st of the year prior to the school year for which the request is being made. And whereas House Bill 3401 requires the school district board to designate a percentage of state school fund attributable to the school district to be paid directly by the Education Service District. And whereas House Bill 3401 states that school districts designating more than 50% of the state school fund attributable to the school district may only act in advisory capacity for decisions made in relation to the governance of the Education Service District. Now, therefore, the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors hereby notifies the Northwest Regional ESD Northwest Regional Education Service District that it elects to receive 65% of the Northwest Regional ESD State School Fund attributable to the Hillsboro School District for the 2014-2015 school year to be paid directly to the Hillsboro School District. This resolution serves as legal notification of this request. The Hillsboro School District Board of Directors understands that by requesting 65% of the Northwest Regional ESD State School Fund attributable to the Hillsboro School District for the 2014-15 school year be paid directly to the Hillsboro School District, the district may act only in an advisory capacity for decisions made in relation to the governance of the Education Service District, dated this 22nd of October 2013, to be signed by Kim Strelson, Board Chair, and Scott Superintendent.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on the resolution? Yeah.
So I have one question. So if this passes and we decide to move this direction, you had indicated, of course, that we'll be, buying some credits back from them anyway, using some of these funds. If in the future we decide to change our minds and go below 50%, do we get our voting rights back, or is it just?
No, that's correct. This is an annual decision.
Okay. So
yes.
if we happen to, we're saying we're going to take 65% of the money, but then we spend 16% back, do we keep our voting deal, or is it just because we said it's gone?
Right. Once we notify them that
okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
And actually, the service plan is voted on in early November.
So we've already done it anyway.
We would have done. Yeah, we would be done.
Any other comments? So it's been moved by Wayne and seconded by Glenn to approve the resolution regarding the ESD and our level of participation. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And next we have a series of policy revisions. And my understanding is we did not have any questions or comments during the review period, so hopefully these will move quickly. First up is Steve and policy IL assessment programs.
Okay, just to move quickly, I did not hear any feedback
revisions to policy IL assessment program.
Second. It's been moved by Monty, seconded by Janine to approve the revisions. Policy IEL assessment programs. Any questions for Steve?
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so I noticed in this policy revision, right, we're taking out the phrase that says that if a student is in a school receiving Title I monies and need an improvement, then they need to be provided supplemental services and public school options. It wasn't clear to me, I know I sent you a question and it wasn't clear to me from the answer. So does changing this policy mean that if a student is in a failing school, we're no longer required to give them options to go to another school?
That's right. The law no longer requires that.
Yeah, the law no longer requires that, but I think, there's nothing stopping us from being ahead of the law. It seems to me that even if the law no longer requires it, it's a matter of policy. So instead of striking out that clause about them being provided public school options, I would say just strike out the required by law part. What would be the downside of that?
Tell me again what we're not striking.
Right, so right now, in the end of the second paragraph under the enumerated list, it currently strikes out the words "be provided supplemental services and public school options as required by law." Right, so what I'm suggesting is instead of striking out that whole last half sentence, just strike out the words "as required by law."
Okay. So it's the goal of the board for absolutely. One of the things to consider is that Title I funds were required, if we were required to use Title I funds to pay for supplemental services, which was outside tutoring, and pay for the transportation costs to move a student from a YP designated school to another school. So making that decision would result in us using either general fund or title funds in a way that we have not budgeted.
Well, I mean, it would be a greater cost, but hasn't that been true in previous years as well?
The cost to do those two things was identified in the requirement to hold back 20% of your Title I dollars as a set aside to pay for those two things. So, yes, that is something that we have paid for in the past. However, as No Child Left Behind became waived, those requirements to set aside those Title I funds also went away. And so we have distributed that money to schools that include the two schools that are level 1 status for intervention type services, some of which include tutoring. So in fact, we are doing some of that, but we have not held back dollars from our Title I to pay for transportation.
But by striking that phrase, we're essentially saying that a student who goes to those schools has no right to transfer to another school, right? The reason I bring this up, of course, is we received, specific email over the past week with parents that was upset because the district seemed to be stopping that from transferring their child out of a failing school.
So specifically, the situation you're talking about is, actually, let me go back. We oftentimes have, not often, we sometimes have parents that would like to transfer their student from one school to another school. And that's a practice that we've engaged in. We try and work out a situation where we can meet them in the middle somewhere. What we don't allow is for a parent to identify what school and what grade level, and we need to have some discretion over that, because oftentimes the school that the parent would choose is already full and at that grade level. So that's why we exercise some discretion. But we do have a practice of allowing parents to move. Maybe a compromise here is that we wouldn't be on the hook for the transportation side of it. We've got title dollars that have shrunk over the last years, and Travis or Steve, I don't know if you can tell me what exactly that amount is, but there's a significant decrease in the amount of title dollars that we had last year as compared to this year. So to put some services in place that are going to cost additional money and take that money out of the schools that need it, I don't know if we want to go down that road, but maybe there is an opportunity to provide some discretion for a parent where they can provide the transportation.
Yeah, I guess it's not clear that this policy specifically addresses transportation, but I mean, it just seems to me it is a good policy to allow kids, another option if they're in a bad school.
I can't name the figures for the reduction of the resources we have there, but I can speak from experience. I was a principal at a school that was under AYP designation, and we had structures and resources in place to help with the supplementary tutoring services and those transportation costs. We identified schools where students were able to go, and we just don't have those structures anymore in the post-NCLB scenario. We also do have smaller amounts of those federal dollars.
It's my understanding that it was somewhere around 800,000 plus that there was an issue, but I'm not certain on that. But I'm also kind of curious about the fact that there is another, my understanding, another round of sequestration cuts, and I don't know if that affects Title I additionally, or what that will look like. I haven't heard that specific.
So the title dollars that were in question a month or so ago, all of our federal programs that could have been in play there, those are forward funded, so we'd receive the money prior to that taking place. So we're not anticipating, of course we never know, it's on an annual basis, but we're not anticipating further cuts this year. Correct, for this year.
But if the cuts are further cuts take place, that could affect the following year.
That could.
Just want to say that I actually like your compromise, Mike, where we're not on the hook for the transportation part. Not because I don't want to provide it, but just simply that's an expense that really is beyond our capabilities, frankly. But I don't have personally a problem with if a parent wants to move from one school to another.
So, asking a perfect question. It seems like for a long time there's been a process for a parent to request change of school for any number of reasons to which we've responded generally favorably. Was it because of this bond?
Not usually.
I mean, did we comply because it was required by law as dictated in this AR? I assume the answer is no. It was part of our general policy to exercise flexibility.
I would say part of our practice, yeah.
So striking this does not imply that we, what significantly changes in striking this in our behavior? That's, I guess, if suddenly you say, no, we don't have to move anybody by law, so everyone stays where they are. I don't think that's what happens. So can you kind of say what happens as a result?
Well, I also mentioned the other transfer allowabilities with the new, I don't know what Senate bill, House bill says. Open enrollment. I said, yeah, open enrollment. That's going to play a significant factor. What really changes with this is that requirement that a school that has that designation a district has to identify more than one other option and provide transportation to those schools. So if it was Henry, it would have been Eastwood and Brookwood, and those are your option schools. We have the transfer policy in place that gets used by hundreds of our families. That wouldn't be impacted. What would be different is that we wouldn't designate specific alternatives and guarantee transportation to those alternatives. Parents still have an option to request a transfer.
But this particularly meant when over and above the parents' likelihood of requesting a transfer, if that school happened to be under this section, but previously said that you were required to do certain things on request. And removing this would revert it back to them requesting. It's not being required, but still by policy giving due consideration to all requests to transfer where under the standard policy, which is my understanding, also did not provide transportation. So the difference here is if the school had a problem, this would say you could transfer, we have an open spot there. If you're doing all the work. That's the burden that would get placed on students living in these schools. It sounds like an issue.
The transportation that we have provided when it's discretionary is that if the parents can utilize the transportation if they can get the student to the closest bus stop that services that school. So it's not that there's not some option available, it's just not a guaranteed door-to-door type service.
Adam, just some quick math. We got about $921,000 reduction in our Title I funds. So significant. And about a $3 million budget, so that's
I agree with Wayne. I think we have a transfer process in place that's working most of the time. Agreed, it's not going to work all the time due to capacity issues. We won't always be able to take every student at their first choice potentially. You can't kick out students who that's their neighborhood school to accommodate someone who wants to transfer in. That doesn't make sense. Any other comments on this one? So it was moved by Monty and seconded by Janine to approve the revisions to the policy IL assessment program. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're done. 6-1. Perfect, thank you. Motion passes. Next up is Adam and revisions to policy DH, crime coverage for employees and officers.
Board policy DH talks about, used to talk about the need for superintendent and the business manager to be bonded. The law changed several years ago and allowed us to instead cover those employees and all other employees under our district crime policy. And this would bring, this proposed change would bring policy in line with our current practice, which is to cover all employees under our district crime policy.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to adopt the resolution, or the policy.
Okay, let's read.
Just read that. Just go ahead.
Approve the recommendation of revision to policy DH, crimes coverage for employees and officers.
Thank you. Second. It's been moved by Glenn and seconded by Janine. Any questions or comments on this policy revision? Okay, all those in favor of the revisions to policy DH, crime coverage for employees and officers, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Marva, please take note. We have one board member.
Bless you.
And next up is Debbie with the revisions to policy GBEC, drug-free workplace.
This revision went up for first reading on September 24th at the board meeting. There's a minor change in this policy, and it states that employees may not be under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol in the workplace. So it's one minor change in that, and I've received no questions or comments.
Okay, so looking for a motion?
I was just going to add a motion to approve the revisions to policy GBEC, drug-free workplace.
Seconded. It's been moved by Adriana, seconded by Janine. Questions?
Was it motivated? What was the change motivated by? Hard to believe, honestly.
A situation that arose, and when we went to the board policy to see if it explicitly talks about being under the influence, it wasn't explicitly addressed.
And that limited the behavior that we could...
No, we were able to work that through, but we felt like it was prudent for us to include that into the board policy.
We were still able to take action.
Yeah, we were able to do that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so it moved by Adriana, seconded by Janine to approve the revisions to policy GBEC. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And the last one is Elaine with revisions to IGBAG, the AR for special education procedural safeguards, and IGBAG, special education.
Right, so policy IGBAG-AR, one of those three we released September 24th, involved really minor changes with the standard form that we use in special education called the prior written notice, and we recommend that we move forward with those changes.
And so I would need a
and B-A-J-A-R. Yeah, can we do them together? Perfect. Do you want to do this quick?
Sure. IGBAJAR involved changes when we are using parents' public insurance. We just need to notify them if we're going to be using that. This is also a district policy that we already comply with.
Okay, thank you. We're looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the recommended revisions to IGBAG-AR Special Education Procedural Safeguards and IGBAJ-AR Special Education Free and Appropriate Public Education.
I second.
So moved by Jeannie and seconded by Adriana. Any questions or comments on these two? Perfect. So all those in favor to the revisions to IGBAGAR and IGBAJAR, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Elaine. And next we move on to reports and discussion, and Mike's going to give us a strategic plan update.
Actually, I'm just going to do a brief intro, and then we'll turn it over to these folks over here. As you know, we've been providing monthly updates for the strategic plan and the progress that we're making. You'll see in your situation page that we now have a new place where those items or progress can be recorded. So if you are on that website, note that if you hover over the particular element of the strategic plan and click on that, then you are able to see the progress and the evidence that's been made to date. We're going to have Cabinet go through their areas really briefly. Word of the day was briefly. So, Steve, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So, 3 categories for the instruction section: professional development, resources and materials, and leadership structures to promote collective efficacy in the system. You'll see in the first professional development, we continue with our work on the bilingual program model for instructing meaning, supporting our principals and teacher leaders with the PLC training. You see some evidence there. Really impressed with our staff on what they did with the assessments, particularly around English language learners. We've included some of that information for you. We want more data points on how students are making progress on their English language acquisition, develop that system. And then finally, our design for curriculum areas in our high schools have met and begun thinking about what their curriculum and their content would look like over the next few years. Gave you a snapshot of what that looks like.
Okay, so super brief with engagement. Just wanted to tell you really 2 things. One is that our app launch is going very well. We have over 500 people that have downloaded so far, and so please get it yourself if you haven't already on the App Store or Google Play. And then another highlight is just that we've been holding lots and lots of feedback/engagement sessions, and I've been tracking participation at each of those so far. Since July, we've had 17 different events. Those range from listening sessions with defined groups, staff groups and whatnot, open to the community, coffee chats, superintendent listening session, ELL migrant parent advisory council meetings, various things. That's brought in 259 participants, which I think is great. But then I just wanted to do a separate call out and a real big kudos to Olga Acuna and the efforts of she and her team for bringing in over 1,000 people to the binational community health fair at Hill High on October 6th. She showed me pictures with lines that went into the parking lot up to the building. It was pretty great. So.
I'm going to do both facilities and safety. Facilities, as you'll recall, is focused a lot of our work around the long-range planning committee. We had our first long-range planning committee in October. We also had an opportunity to meet with NAVM architects who shared a report that they did for a school district in the Lake Washington area, Washington, that is doing a lot of the same work that we were talking about around equitable classroom learning environments. So if you're on the long-range planning committee, you have that to look forward to in November. In the area of safety, Casey has met with the Youth Advisory Council regarding the anti-bullying initiative, and that campaign. And there is an informational brochure which has been created to provide parents with information about district safety procedures.
Yes, equity. So the area of equity has 2 action areas, and one of the areas is developing and implementing a comprehensive professional development plan. And we've moved forward and had several trainings with staff. One of the ones I'd like to highlight is the Taking It Up. And it's a brand new training that we've offered, and we've actually gotten survey results back as part of our getting feedback to see how staff are, what they're benefiting from this. Overwhelmingly, we got some great feedback from administrators, licensed and classified staff, but 100% of them wanted to continue taking this kind of training after taking it up. And I wanted to share just a couple of comments on impact, and these are comments on the surveys from staff. Taking it up has offered a new perspective and lens for me to view how my students are experiencing the world. I feel that I have a greater awareness of my privilege and how that may be impacting my students' learning. Another one is it reignited my interest in better addressing race issues within our educational context. So we've got many, many of those kind of testimonials from staff about the value of these trainings. So we're going to have our next Taking It Up session December 14th and 15th, and this is the one where we're reaching out to community to bring the community and offer that to them. So we're pretty excited about that. In the area of implementing and refining our recruitment and hiring and retention process, we continue to move forward with the bilingual teacher pathways. We anticipate that we will have 6 of those classified employees who will be finishing the program at the end of the year, and we hope to be able to staff them as wonderful bilingual teachers for the following year. We've gotten some feedback from remember we're surveying, we're doing exit information from staff, and we're also doing intake. We call it our welcome survey. And when we asked what influenced you to seek and accept employment with the district, overwhelmingly professional development is one of those. And another area for both licensed and classified was the programs that we offered. And I want to just quickly list a few of those that were explicitly listed as reasons that are pulling staff to our district. Spanish, English instruction, special education, systematic ELD, constructing meaning sheltered instruction, dual language English, Spanish, family and consumer sciences, and culinary arts. And so those are some of the things that are drawing staff to our district, and then also our district reputation. So I think we're starting to really get some good information in our surveys on why people are coming and possibly why people are leaving. The leaving piece, we're following up. One of the areas, if they're leaving because they're going to another district, we're contacting those employees and asking them what it is about the other district that's drawing them, if it's within our fiscal boundaries.
So anyone has questions, comments for any of them also?
Can I bring up a comment?
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, something seems to me fundamentally broken about these equity measurements, because it seems to me the fundamental equity challenge of our generation is really the fact that kids living in certain neighborhoods get an inferior education. And, we've seen that that's a problem in Hillsboro, right? We were discussing the report card ratings recently, where we have 2 schools that are rated in the 5th percentile. And it seems to me that that's kind of an equity emergency, and it's showing a major crisis in our district's, strategy towards equity. But I don't see it reflected at all in these measures of equity here on these slides. It seems to me that we shouldn't be bragging about how many people we send to seminars when we have a fire burning in our district that needs addressing.
I just wanted to respond to that. I would say there's more to it than that comment, and I wouldn't agree that they're receiving an inferior education. What I would say is that there are circumstances that a certain pool of our students live within that contribute to that equation as well. If you've got high poverty in an area, if you've got circumstances that put the students at great risk, that's going to impact their education as well. In fact, if you look across the state and across the nation, there's a fairly direct correlation between poverty and student achievement.
But we have other schools that have similar demographics that aren't in the 5th percentile.
Absolutely. We do have schools that are bucking that trend, and that's our goal for all of those schools. But I wouldn't agree with the statement that those students at the schools that fall in the bottom percentage there are receiving an inferior education. I just wouldn't agree with that comment. I think there's other issues at play there. I agree that we've got the emergency. I agree that we need to do something about it. We need to provide additional resources and opportunities for these students. I just wouldn't agree that it's an inferior education that's the only element of that equation.
Okay, I guess you can ask the parents there. I don't see how anyone cannot think it's an inferior education when their child's attending a school in the 5th percentile.
But the other portion of that equation is that if you were to do an analysis of where the students come in and the amount of growth that takes place at those schools, if we were to use a growth model at some of our poorest schools, you would actually see that some of our poorest schools are receiving, they're having greater gains per student than some of our other schools that have a higher SES rating. But the issue is that because they start at such a low performance level, they're not able to hit the meets or exceed standard. Even though they may be gaining a great number of percentage points, they're still not able to get up to the meets because they came in at such a low level. So that's a contributing factor as well.
Okay, next I have Wayne.
My question is about hiring practices. You mentioned, I forget the name of it, the Pathways program, which I believe takes staff who are not teachers and helps them through the process of becoming credentialed. And then you follow it with the hope that you can keep them and hire them. That implies the desire to hire them in those roles. The question I have is how do you feed that program? I have some experience with a hiring pipeline where we hiring interns and being able to, rather than a one-day interview, we get 3 months of seeing how they work and interact. I wonder how the people are selected into this pipeline so that you have the confidence at the end that you're really saying we expect to hire them at the end of that. Because if you don't start the pipeline right, no matter what you put them through, you may not get out someone that you want to have.
It's a great question, and we have had lots of conversations about this, and they're current employees, so they're current classified employees, so we obviously see them in the workplace. We have a work history with them. They have to be recommended by their supervisor, so we actually, we have one of our administrators in HR who actually oversees this program, and they do interviews with all of the candidates, and then we also get to see them student teach. So we get to see them in action, not only when they're employees, but when they're in the student teaching situation. So we have multiple opportunities to make sure that they are going to be stellar teachers for us. And we don't have an agreement with them that we will hire them in the end. Our hope is that we will, but they obviously have to be the top teachers and go through the hiring process for us to hire.
Okay, thank you. So effectively, you're giving them their best shot because you selected good candidates, you see them more than you might see ordinary candidates, but we're not legally obliged to hire them, and they would still go through the hiring process.
My comments are just going to be that I appreciate that when we had talked as a board and a cabinet around strategic planning and had a very good, robust conversation about it in our retreat day. That some of those conversations are coming to light. I mean, when you're talking about, you mentioned the post survey and the exit and the intake survey. Those were things that came from just the discussion, and you're putting them into effect, and you're getting survey information when you do a training from those folks that are taking that to say, yeah, that was really effective for me, or so I appreciate that you are running with that and doing that. And then on the engagement part, I think that I'm really excited about the folks that have been coming out to the coffee chats. And to be able, I know it is an extra time factor, but it's so very important. Because we're reaching out to community members that I, a lot of times, have not seen several of these people around a table before. So you're coming to an area where they're comfortable with in their environment. and you're letting them have some conversation, and you're having dialogue with them. And I just think that it's incredible. I think we're seeing more people at the coffee chats than we have at listening sessions, because maybe people feel like they're, just gonna hear my talk, and they don't realize that, which is very exciting. Right. But I think that it's really, I just wanted to say that. I appreciate the efforts there.
Okay, Adriana and then
One of the things we had a great conversation and work session, and we brought it up again, the equity emergency, and I think Mike touched on it, and a lot of these things, if we're looking long-term and really dealing with what we're calling this equity emergency, then we got to get into the lives of these children long before they hit our school system. And, it's as Mike said, it's difficult when you have children that are coming into our system much far along because of their lack of experience and lack of exposure. And as I could even say, maybe lack of having their five, because their parents have limited access to financially, they're struggling with basic needs, they're struggling with a lot of other issues that are compounded when it comes to poverty. And I know, because early childhood education is my background, that's my baby. And I mean, to me, this is resonating. And I think as a district, if we really want to see long-term effects of this equity emergency, we have to invest, and it's a way that we have to start looking, we talk about our career college pathways, let's start looking at our, before that. The other thing that I want to talk about is, I want to talk about this area that I call the heart of Hillsboro. And, it's funny because our standardized testing cannot measure the intelligence of these children. And if you go, and I tell people, go and hang with these kids, I just tell them, go and hang out and listen to the kids and listen to the parents. And I think one of the things that was so eye-opening, not for myself, but other individuals, was Don, who was his name, Stossel, from 20 years ago, followed a migrant family all the way from Texas to Michigan. The car broke down. Family didn't speak any English. Mind you, they got stopped at how many times on the way, and they maneuvered their way. The water pump broke down, and the dad fixed it, I kid you not, with a, one of those water guns this summer with one of those air screamers. Yeah, those. And I was just floored, and the next day a coworker saw it, and we were just talking, and I used this term today when we were working on our group, and I use the term manos en la masa, and it's a term that we use in Spanish when you're making tamales. A lot of us don't want to get our hands dirty. It's like, but that's how you learn. You got to get your hands dirty. And a lot of people just struggling in poverty, and I'm just saying in poverty in general, not color, not race, anything. We have to utilize the resources that we have available to us. Unfortunately, our standardized testing system doesn't measure the depth of the intelligence of the resources that we use. It's more, how could I say, I don't want to say it's tailor-made, but it's more adapted to our American, our system of how we learn, of which I would say it took me a lot of struggles, and I still struggle to this day, because I'm a very hands-on person. It's really hard, if I sit down and I test, and I used to say we should all take Oak's test, I'm afraid to take it, see what I score. But I want us as board members to think out of the box. I think terms, and I know where you're getting to, Eric, but when we use terms like inferior education, we're not supporting the teachers in our most hardest hit areas, neither the principals or the community surrounding it. We're also not valuing the natural and multiple intelligences of the community. And so I just kind of want to just take that and just share that. But to me, it's a call, and I thank you, Eric, for using that term, equity emergency. It's not a chaos that we have to run around, but we really have to put our heads together. And I think Mike said that. It happens before, and we have to really work, and as a board start looking at if we really want to close that achievement gap, and we really want long-term results, it's going to take time. It's a process, and we have to come together and work at it.
Glenn, and then Wayne.
Okay, well, first off, let me agree with you, Adriana, that all of our kids in this district have tremendous promise. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us to provide the best education that we as parents and educators of the community can provide. And I know we're doing that. we have some rough spots. The other thing I wanted to echo was really, Michael, what you said, is that I understand that maybe a school needs improvement, but it isn't fair to say they're getting a terrible education or whatever, because they have so far to go. So I guess I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's fair to really come down that hard on the people involved in the school, because there are issues that we need to address, and it's a systems problem that we have to deal with. But I know that those parents and those teachers and those people in that area really are working together to make the improvement we need to. And so as a board, we need to support that. So I personally don't think that we're doing a terrible job, but it is something we really need to deal with. And I look forward to hearing the plans for improvement that you have coming out in the next couple of weeks to deal with this, because no matter however it happened, it's not acceptable for us to have a school that's in that area. So we need to deal with it however with resources or whatever we have to put into that school to help those students. It isn't the teachers that are doing a bad job, in my opinion. I'm not deeply there, but we need to figure out what we need to do in order to help those students get over that achievement gap, because that school needs to be brought along soon.
So Wayne and then Monty.
So I want the conversation to get too far away. So the phrase equity emergency, I think there's a specific reference there to, obviously there are two schools that are struggling low. The data also correlates that they are high poverty schools. The emergency, I think, comes not just from a recognition that, hey, you contribute to poverty, because we have the counterexamples. We have multiple counterexamples of nearly equivalent poverty level schools with the same presumed equally intelligent students with the equal amounts of problems and the equal amounts of struggles. Can minimize the poverty pain of high-performing schools, but we really need to look at the emergency to say, we have existence proofs of high poverty with high success. And we can't lay that on anyone but us in the district to say, what is it that we need to do, everything in our power to learn from our positives, to apply to those areas that need it, and recognize there's bound to be systemic problems, not just, there has to be systemic problems and ideas not being deployed or something in a way that makes those particular areas problem areas above and beyond just the fact that they're high poverty. So I don't want to lay it out to a high poverty question, because we have to bear some responsibility to say there are factors, but ultimately it comes back to an administrative building and team of people and the administration that supports them and us in the community, because that's also a factor that can be different among the schools. We have to lay it on the adults to say there's something that we need to address, and that's the emergency in those two cases that lays on us, and we really have to not try to put it off on, hey, everyone's intelligent, they're just not there, because we have the existence proofs of successful programs, and I think that's the message we need to take away, is it's on us. However else you read it, it's on us to make sure that we're doing
I would like to see the numbers that you mentioned about where kids start, because as far as we know, that's the best performing school based on where they start. And so I think those numbers would be important when we look at these other numbers. I had a question about safety. Yes. The bullying report that we had asked for as part of our evidence. Do we have such a thing yet? Yes.
It's talking about history.
I didn't see it on there, so I believe it's on there yet. Do we have a time frame for it? I don't. I will have to get a hold of Casey and sit down.
Okay, I know we've asked you all to be very brief, so thank you for entertaining all of our rich conversation. I'm going to get my push to. And one, just thank you to Beth, Olga, and Mike for all of the engagement. It's exciting to see the different opportunities and really how many people are coming, whether it's different venue or different time or whatever it is. All of a sudden, many people are going to start paying attention to what's happening in school, but I know that you guys are starting early, working late, and really cramming a lot in, and I appreciate it. And a question for Debbie. As more folks are doing either UUR, CFE, they're taking it, but I would still love, and you and I brainstormed this a while back maybe, how there could be some sort of a place to reconnect with other district staff who've had that training. I know that some of those programs have a place where you can go to something, and I'm not going to go to the McMinimums in the Hollywood district and connect with people I don't know, but I would love to reconnect with folks in this community and continue that work and continue that conversation, and I think that would be there could be some good meaning in that, especially as we start training community members or providing opportunities for community members to understand it.
We currently are actually talking about that with specifically folks that have done OCP.
Yeah,
that's such a broad range from the licensed administrators and community members. And so doing something on a quarterly basis where we can get together and talk about issues and almost like a support group, as well as coming up with solutions to the problems and practices that are occurring in our schools.
That would be awesome, and I would participate.
I've been to those, and I find that to be a really successful model. After going through the CFE training and then coming back and having the local CFE fellows, and with not just folks that I went through the course with, but I found it to be a very successful model. It's like a lot of those times when you do the training and then you're done. So this is just a way to keep the conversation going.
And I'm going to give one last comment.
Sorry.
Actually, there's a question on the bullying topic. What are the possible outcomes in a bullying scenario? The reason I ask is I recently heard of kids, the person being bullied being the one ending up moving to a different school because it was easier for them to solve the problem that way. What are the typical scenarios? What are the outcomes of a bullying incident?
I'm going to have that. I've not been involved in that.
Well, I can just tell you from a building administrator point of view that there's a ton of different outcomes that are available. I can tell you that personally, when I've dealt with those in the past, and I would welcome other administrators to chime in as well, that it's typically not the victim that would be doing the movement. That isn't a typical scenario that would play itself out unless the parent felt like that's the only remedy that was available to them. That wouldn't be a typical response to a bullying situation. I don't know if there's other comments out there.
No, actually, I saw Casey present to the youth advisory council and engage them in a conversation about how students can respond to the types of bullying that are going on in the school environment. I think when we put the data around what those incidents are, we see more and more student engagement in our bullying plan around how to get students creating a different culture and kind of fighting back against that culture of bullying when it starts to show up in school. I was really impressed by that and the kind of conversation that I had with Casey Hall, which they actually have a plan this spring to come up with sort of ad campaigns and service announcements. I would say one of the outcomes of an incident would be a response by the staff, but also by the students at the school.
One of the things that I just wanted to share, and I know Casey's not here, but I'm going to chat with him, but Mike's daughter and son used to go to a school where the culture of school bullying, it was not tolerated, period. To the point where you said it, the peers, I think, your peers are your best judges. So I remember an incident where one girl was called fat, and two peers stepped in and did not accept that behavior. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is I really, with looking at this bullying thing, is really get at the school culture, even down to the point if we can have kids even contract, sign a contract in some way or something. But I really want to see this bullying thing, big as far as culture, across board principals and everybody. So.
All right. Thank you for your patience with us. Next is the October 1 enrollment report. Debbie, please.
So every year, October 1st is our first official enrollment count. And so in your situation page, you've got the data, and I can give you kind of a summary of this. So the good news is that October 1 enrollment is up by 255 students from a year ago on October 1st. So that's good news for us. It's actually the biggest percentage jump in enrollment since 2006, October to October. So I think that's really good news. We're up over 421 over what we projected our enrollment would be. Remember, we usually project a little low on our enrollment, so that worked out well for us. Last year, as you remember, we had a slight decline in enrollment, which was, we were down to 66 students. So, like I said, this is the good news. We do also know that secondary enrollment has a tendency to decrease between the fall and the spring, so we have to keep that take that into account. But the overall trend is that we're increasing in our enrollment. And statewide, Mike and I have talked a bit about kinders and how kinders are doing statewide. Our kinders, as you can see, we're down 21. The trend statewide is not that kinders are down, it is a growing trend for kinders. But as you can see in our secondary, that's where the bulk of our growth is coming from, is our intermediate and secondary students on that. Do you have questions about enrollment?
I just have a comment. You think on the kinders, do you think it's because the lack of like a full day program that a lot of folks will, that maybe once that full day is eliminated, that then we will see, because folks will have the opportunity.
That's an interesting question, because Mike just posed that question, and we've talked about it at great length about why do we think our kinders are down and they're not down statewide. I don't know that we have an answer for that.
I think part of it is we had a big kindergarten class last year, much bigger than we anticipated. So the fact that we're down a little bit from last year is we're about 60 students above what we projected. So I don't think it's necessarily a trend of decline, it's just kind of a spike.
One of the things that we look at when we're doing enrollment is grade level participation from year to year. So Adam's exactly right. If you're cruising along at 1,500 kids and you get a 0.5% increase from year to year, and then all of a sudden you get a 1.5% increase, it's unlikely that you'll sustain that. So it's just right. So until we start seeing we're down 21 students in kindergarten, until we start seeing that it's a trend from year to year, then we wouldn't panic too much.
Any other questions for Debbie? Great, thank you, Debbie. And Adam's financial report.
Is included in your packet. I bragged last time on our benefits department and all the work that they did during the OWEB open enrollment process. And I just wanted to point out that we ended up with no employees being left behind. So it was touch and go there towards the end. But come October 1, the re-enrollment time, we had all of our employees that either chose to opt out or enrolled. So great work on those folks. The other news in the business office right now is, as we reported last time, we've had our audit field work done. We're now in the process of finalizing everything so that we can start writing the narrative part of the chapter.
Great. Any questions for Adam?
Are you going to win your award again this year?
Yeah.
So next we have a series of first readings, and since we are running a little late, what I'm going to ask is each of the members who are presenting to present. If you have completely urgent questions tonight, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, remember they are going on first reading, and so you have a month to send your questions to the appropriate folks. The policy JHCCA, Elaine.
Hi again. So the first change here is that the Oregon Health Authority's manual and the Oregon Health Division guidelines that they give kids, or that they give schools to work with kids in health situations has been revised. And so I downloaded the new manual if you'd like a copy of that so you can see the revisions. They're pretty minor. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is that policy JHCCA discusses district practices related to students with communicable diseases and now includes students who have practices and policies with students who have HIV and AIDS, whereas it didn't previously include that. There's a separate policy for that. Policy JHCCB is now kind of rolled into JHCCA, and they're just one now. So JHCCB, the recommendation is that it's deleted, and then JHCCA, the recommendation is that we go with the OSBA changes that are recommended.
Any pressing questions, Sterling? Great, thank you very much. Next up is policy IGBABJO with John.
So most of these all reflect changes based on FERPA updates, which took place in 2011, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And you'll notice most of the language in all four of these policies is pretty similar, and what we're proposing.
Under clauses like these, are there not possibilities for volunteers to be approved to have access to such private information that allows them to be of assistance in the classroom?
Yeah, it's the level of assistance that's the question right now. Debbie actually has been doing an analysis of this, and I'm not expecting to give an answer now, but she's actually posed it to our legal counsel as well to try and get clarification on this, because there are certain activities that are acceptable and others that would fall into question. So we're working now to get clarification.
It seems like we've got a wide open losing, because it puts a burden on teachers for things that are well within the capability of many volunteers to handle basic grading, especially when they're cut and dry grading instead of evaluative things. And there are clauses like this that allow us to open that up to take more advantage of our volunteers and offload teachers. It seems like a win for everyone.
We'll have to, we're just not done with it yet. We don't have all the answers we need yet. It is on our radar to respond to the board. We just haven't completed that yet.
Thank you. And next up is the first reading of policy JEC, school admissions to JECA. Saida.
Okay, so JC and JCA were modified to include some OSBA recommended language and also to maintain the level of consistency between both policies. Specifically, the inclusion of reference to the admissions of students receiving special education services who have not yet attained age 21. That's the main piece that was added, and added to both pieces for consistency. There was also a piece at in policy JECA with respect to using the district as a consistent language throughout that policy, whereas before there was some reference to the board. So the other policy had the district, and so we thought for consistency purposes we have it in both policies. That's basically it. Any questions?
Anyone have questions for Saida? Great, thank you. And the last one is Steve, policy IKAB, student progress reports.
So, consistent with the other policies, OSBA is flagged. This one needing update because of House Bill 2220. It identifies specifically what we need to report to parents, so we lifted the language word for word from the OSBA recommended.
The language language added, parents shall be informed annually of their students' progress toward meeting or exceeding grade level academic content standards. Is that really the minimum bar? What constitutes this informed annually effectively says we're required to tell you at one time what your students' performance is. I'm trying to understand how this policy correlates with the notion of parents and teachers and parent-teacher conferences, and what is it that they're actually getting all along the way, if not student progress toward meeting or exceeding grade level academic standards.
Sure. So it's a little bit specific to the requirement under 2220 now reports proficiency on academic standards. So we still do the grade reports and the progress reports and all of those things in the same calendar that we've always done. This is saying that you also need to inform parents on how they're doing according to the state adopted standards.
But are we not adjusting our report cards and things to precisely show that along the way?
Absolutely. But it's also saying that yes, we are exceeding the required expectation of 2220. By the amount of time.
That's kind of what I'm hoping, is that they're asking us to measure students based on the standards and requiring it once a year. I had the impression that we were working our report cards and our integration of the curriculum with the standards in such a way that the regular reporting that the teachers are doing are reporting against the standards on a regular basis rather than an annual basis.
Any other questions? So just a reminder that these are all on first reading, and that each of the people who presented tonight would be the place where you would want to direct your questions or tonight if you have questions over the course of the month. Our next report is with Adam and Support Services Annual Reports.
Each October, we do a report that encompasses facilities, maintenance, transportation, and food service. Basically a recap of the prior year. And what you have here is that report. As you'll notice on the first page, dealing with facilities, we did not budget money in 2012-13 for roof replacements, hard surfaces, that being paving, floor replacements. But we did do quite a list of summer projects that you'll see listed there, primarily around HVAC controls. We did some reciting of some portables, did some remodeling, did some significant seismic upgrades at North Plains Elementary, and then that whole list. The next portion of the report has to do with nutrition services. We served 2.5 million lunches in 2012-13. Total revenues of almost $7.4 million. The transportation services component of the report, we drove 2.578 million miles. 2.3 million of those miles were reimbursable with the 70% reimbursement rate. We transported 14,702 students on 96 regular routes and 43 special ed routes.
Adam, any thoughts about why our meals dropped off?
No, I did not get a chance to talk to Cindy Longwood about that. I don't know. That jumped out at me too. I will find out that
People don't realize the food is getting better and better.
Well, are the kids thinking it's better or not? And that's where I question.
How's it counted, by the way? Do they take tally of people going through the line or through scan card? Yeah, get a count of meal time. Is that would certainly work for the lower grades? These also would account for kind of the cafeteria.
These are all of the reimbursable meals. So at the high school, secondary level, those meals can be reimbursable.
But they would again use a card or something?
Yes.
Now, use a card
they can do either.
Any other questions?
Questions on the support services report? I will get back with an answer on why the city
So, I actually had one question in the support services report.
Okay.
Yes.
So on these buses, you talked about replacing the buses. Now, a while back, in one of the other meetings, there was a talk about buses being more expensive now because of state emissions regulations.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess someone was going to go calculate how much extra expense those cost us. Did that report ever get completed?
Yes, it did. I will have to go back into the board updates.
I thought it came in a weekly update.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that. I'm just curious, in this report, was it a significant impact this year?
It was a cost increase in purchasing those two buses, yes. It was included.
Yeah, look back and look at that board update.
Okay.
Any other questions on the support services report? Perfect, thank you. Adam, we're sticking with you. You going to give us the risk management?
Annual risk management report. Yes. Last year was a very good year in terms of our liability and property claims. We had a total of 37 automobile incident claims. Total claims paid $104,000 roughly, down from $385,000 the year before.
Do the student incidents include sporting events, sports injuries?
Again,
that would be included in these totals?
Yes. Yeah. Unless the student has student accident insurance, which would be a separate policy, it would be covered.
So these are claims against our insurance policy?
Correct. Workers' compensation is something that I'm really proud of. If you look on the page, it's the page below the graph. Our experience rating on our workers' comp has gone from well over 1, meaning where you exceed the industry average, to now being down at below 0.9. So we're significantly below the industry in terms of our number of claims and our severity of our claims. Payroll is up, but our premium is not significantly. Yvonne Dukart, our risk manager, does a great job in managing all of our insurance programs, and I think she should get a lot of the credit for us being able to maintain those low premiums, $1 million a year in property and casualty, but relatively low insurance rates.
Any other questions for Adam? Thank you very much. Travis, you have been a very patient man. We appreciate you letting us bump you from the work session to the very end, or close to the end of our.
Look at that, it just rolls right up.
I apologize for the handout. I had planned to handle this a little less formally at the work session, but here is a copy of the policy around the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee.
Travis, while you're handing that out, were you a little jealous of Will McCourt tonight when he was singing and playing the guitar, knowing your background as a lead singer for a band?
I was actually commenting we should call off the meeting and just let them.
No regular session, jam session. Oh, really?
What was that?
I was ready to rock out. In a former life, I used to be able to rock out.
Right.
No longer.
Get one of your iPhones to hand out.
Yeah. So I need help on this.
Just gotta hold it up.
Just hold it up. You can't see it this way.
Oh, that's the point.
It is so
So the Citizens Curriculum Committee met for the first time.
Just email it to him. It's not gonna.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Yeah, I'll just email later.
Oh, come on. I'm a good Vanna.
So I'm excited to serve the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee as the Executive Secretary this year. Part of my duty is to report from the committee to the board, and from the board to the committee. We met for the first time on October 7th. It was my goal to support the team, especially because it had several new members, in reviewing the policy and the charge from the board around its duties and responsibilities. We went into Robert's rules and just set some foundations for our work. The group elected unanimously Jennifer Zohar as its president, or its chairperson, and Lisa Allen as its vice chair. Lisa was here up until about a half an hour ago. So, she's already involved. On Friday morning, I'm going to work with Heather Severance to plan with the chairperson and the vice chair around the activities of the group for the year, and publish our agenda for next time, our next meeting. We're also going to, in our next meeting, review the minutes from last meeting and make those public on our website so our community can see what the group does. It's my belief that we can't raise achievement for all students without engaging our community, so I need this group to get to work really quickly on behalf of our district and our board in their advisory role. I wanted to share with the board really quickly some of the types of questions that they had. When I posed the question, what shared learning do we need to do as a team in order to be experts in curriculum and standards and instruction in the district? They asked questions like, what is the Common Core and how will the Common Core impact the way we discuss curriculum in our district? Are we going to take a look at open source materials? What funding is there for materials and curriculum in our district? Are we moving toward paperless textbooks? What does the bilingual curriculum look like? Is it different or the same as other curriculum? Do we have strong arts programs across this district? What are the electives options that kids have in schools? What is this College and Career Pathways project? What is this 40-40-20 goal? Tell us more about the next generation science standards. So in taking this information and thinking about the work ahead for this group, I worked a project or a work plan, and you have that on one side of your handout. These would be the proposed topics, and this would be subject to change. Again, I'm going to go back to our chair and vice chair and look at this as the scope of our work for the year. What I'd like is to establish the scope of the work of the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee, because I need them in terms of supporting our adoptions processes, looking at new curriculum, and contributing in a meaningful way, as I've heard them say they want to, and the board say that they intend for that group to. A specific example of that is that our high school math teachers need materials to support their delivery of math. And one of the things we've discussed is that we're at a really critical moment in education where the paper textbook might not be the full answer in a materials adoption cycle. And I'm excited to get the curriculum committee looking at open source materials like CK12 or Khan Academy and applying the lens of does this meet our standards for the state and for our district? Are those materials aligned to standards? Are they equitable? Do they meet the needs of students on IEPs, etc.? So I'd appreciate if the board would take a look at the work plan and give any feedback that they have in terms of the tasks ahead of the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee, and I will take that back to Jennifer and Lisa and Heather, who will also support the team on Friday morning.
I just want to do the work between times. Will they be interacting with them, delivering materials, kind of letting them prepare for the discussions? How do you anticipate the flow of work actually happens?
We talked about using Google App to create hyperlinks to the materials, kind of like a board packet. If there are materials to review so that folks come prepared. It's also in the charge for the committee to participate in groups outside of the Monday meetings. So a couple of the folks expressed interest in working alongside teachers in, say, an adoption process. So I think what we'll do once we look at the scope of our work is decide who wants to be involved in what, and then what we need to do in terms of shared learning as a group, and then what actions require a minimum path the group to make advice for the board and the district and their advisory advice.
conversation that you're having, the questions that they were asking right off the bat. That's a very, very energetic and passionate group ready to roll up their sleeves and get involved. So thank you so much for involving them in that. And when we were talking about open source and Khan Academy, I would hope that you kind of maybe have them have the opportunity, my favorite, Peter Schmark over at Glencoe, to be able to go over. And I have yet to go over, and I want to go sit in with him. But perhaps there's opportunities where they can see where he's looking at the standards and applying that. But when I was out canvassing this weekend for the bond, I was walking and knocking. I happened to knock on the door of Jennifer Zohar. And so I thought, I was like, you look familiar, you sound familiar. So we had this conversation, but she was excited about being involved. And she also really gave the good idea about the parent engagement part of it, reaching out to our parent groups and our parent clubs to really let them know what's coming on and let them know how they can be more involved with math adoptions and different things like that. So I thought it was a good conversation, and she just said she wants to be able to try to bring more people to the table. So I just wanted to share.
Thank you. That's a great idea, a good role for the community.
Anyone else? Thanks, Travis. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Next, we have reports. We'll start with the Northwest.
Well, it is getting late. It's probably young, so I'll keep my comments to a minimum. But in preparation for tonight, thought I wonder if there's some interesting points, things you might not know that I could share with you. And so I just wanted to focus briefly on the fact that through service credit dollars as well as low incidence regional program grant funds, there are a number of Northwest Regional personnel who support students in the Hillsboro School District. And I wanted to tell you about the focus of the coordinators of those departments on professional development, because we take the responsibility to serve your children really very seriously. I want to be sure that the staff that we deploy, if you will, are really using best practice, research-based models that have been proven to be effective to increase student learning. So I wanted to just tell you briefly about some of the professional development for our specific related services staff who support students in your district. So just as a couple of examples, the school psychologists this year are receiving training through the Center for Brain Injury Research to be TBI consultants. The Hillsboro School District doesn't have any contracted Northwest Regional ESD staff, but you do have students in day treatment programs who receive the support of school psychologists who are doing better work because of that training. The motor team, which is occupational therapists, physical therapists, and their certified occupational and physical therapy assistants, have a partnership with Oregon Health Sciences University. A member, generally someone from OHSU, attends most of the motor team meetings, bringing kind of best practice therapeutic information to those meetings. They provided a half-day training just last month on cortical visual impairments in children. A physician from OHSU brought that information, including strategies for OTs and PTs and mental liberative services to children who might have those impairments. The vision team is focusing on some iPad training this year. They have visually impaired students who use iPads for a variety of uses, including voice-over text-to-speech functionalities, and so our staff is trying to be really literate in the use of those technologies. I meant to say, by the way, there are 6 members of the motor team who support children in the Hillsboro School District. Vision team, there are 2 orientation and mobility staff members who support children with visual impairments in Hillsboro School District, and 2 more itinerant teachers of visually impaired who support kids in Hillsboro. And just quickly, 2 more things. Well, I'll skip that right here for this time because you have your Corona classroom. I think that's kind of a special thing to highlight at another time. The speech team, you have 3 speech-language pathologists who work for Northwest Regional who support kids in Hillsboro programs. Their focus this year is neurosemantic language learning. That's a focus on providing training to our SLP staff on the implementation of visual strategies to support kids with language learning differences. And that's actually a training that's a 4-part training remaining open to SLPs outside of Northwest Regional because there's room and a number of HSD SLPs are participating. So we're really proud of the work they're doing to support staff to really provide quality research-based therapies to your kids.
Thank you. And then we have, I guess coming up to that, I'm looking at my bodies. More you with HCA and Erica HCU.
Hi. So way back in the work session, when you were looking through the PowerPoint slide, you saw the first one that talked about all the initiatives and things that we're doing. All educators across the state agree that it is difficult to carefully implement the changes that are facing us. The staff can see the value in the initiatives, and they do work hard to incorporate those pieces into their practice because no one is more determined than our educators to help our students find their path to success. At this point in the current school year, I think we're all coming to the realization that we're going to have to start prioritizing some of the goals and focus on what works best for student engagement in education. We want to maximize the collaboration and success among the administrators, the classified staff, and the teachers. Last week, the OSP, are you guys directors? The OSP directors came to our HEA representative meeting, and I would characterize this first meeting as probably overwhelming, but we appreciated the initiative on the part of OSP to touch bases with the larger group. And we're hoping that we can think outside the box and find some ways to utilize all our staff in a more intentional way. And I'll just address the Achievement Compact team. I think that we are overwhelmed and that we have goals that are more meaningful for us when we're looking at our buildings and we try to look at our feeder groups. And I think the decision by most people is if those are the pieces that are in place, then they're going to let the small group reflect that for the I didn't say that in so many words, but that's how I'm interpreting it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric with the Classified. I'd like to address, in the age of ever-shrinking budgets and to do more with less feeling that has come about, classified are stretched as thin as possible. The district is operating basically on a skeleton crew, in our opinion, that is bolstered with the use of temps, subs, and volunteers. The inconsistency and the lack of training and knowledge of the volunteers, subs, and temps is disruptive to the students and has led to an increase of anxiety and uncertainty within the regular staff. This anxiety is leading the staff to take their work home with them, whether it's grading papers, catching up on data input, or getting their materials together for the following day. We don't have time in our schedules to complete our daily tasks, and as a result, many are pressured or bullied into taking on more and in a volunteer capacity. It's not okay for us to be supplemented with volunteers or to be pushed into volunteering in our own positions. We need help. A prioritization of what gets done and what doesn't. Do we grade and evaluate students, or do we make sure that they have the support that they need in the classroom? Do we shut down the kitchens one day a week and get caught up on the data entry? Or do we make sure that the schools are getting a healthy meal in a clean environment? We need the support that the district and the board is required and obligated to provide. Volunteers are meant to enhance learning experiences, not to replace regular employees. All of this has a direct line to the morale of the staff. Please keep in mind the culture we are creating. Is this to be a culture of empowered staff that really accelerate the students, or is HSD to be a culture of fear, anxiety, and low morale? Please keep this in mind as we move forward into the next budgeting and staffing cycle. I really do appreciate the time and effort that the board, administration, and committees put forward into these decisions that they make. But I urge you to keep that in mind, that these are directly affecting our ability to provide services. Thank you.
And with that, we'll turn to Superintendent Time.
Speaking of feedback, and he does come up a number of times tonight. We do have a coffee chat first thing in the morning, so we'll see you all there. One of the things that's been helpful for us is to establish some ground rules as we go into those coffee chats, so we don't talk about specific people or specific students or specific staff members. It is more of a general concerns or information seeking, and we found great value in these feedback meetings, and we look forward to continuing those here. The second thing I'd like to talk about just briefly is Elaine and her team just recently held a special ed parent night, and that was focused on standard-based IEPs, and it was basically to give information to parents and bring them into the loop as far as what they're going to be seeing as they participate in their IEP meetings this year. So really, I think really a progressive move on behalf of the special ed department, and great information that was shared that night. So thank you for your efforts in partnering with our parents. And then finally, just tomorrow, your last regular session. So you won't be out past 10 on Tuesday nights anymore. Well, you might, but it won't be permanent. You'll be doing that fancy dancing every year. So.
Jeez,
right.
You really know what it is. You're right.
I practice on it.
Yeah, I've been giving him lessons.
So for board of director time, I'm going to start with Eric, and we'll work our way around. Are you still there, Eric?
Yeah, thanks for putting up with me on the iPhone. It's pretty much said ready to say it's late, so move on.
Okay, thank you. Adriana?
No, we just want to, thank everyone on board for a good board meeting, and just end with a quote that I just heard this week again. Just curiosity is the most underrated and underutilized trait. So continue to be curious. That's it.
I just want to thank everyone for staying. Particularly, I want to thank the city folks for showing up. I wish we wrapped up before they had to duck out. I kind of think it's a shame that they feel the need to come in a 3-minute public time slot to do this kind of thing, where I think that we should have the benefit of them in a regular place time slot to invite it in, and them feeling welcome with the time. So I really appreciate them coming in and introducing themselves and inviting. I think we can do better to include them and make them not feel like a public comment. Other than that,
Glenn?
Well, it is late, but I do want to just mention a couple of local and not quite so local tragedies, just to acknowledge them. It's been in the newspaper and the news recently about an accident happened in Hillsboro, and I want to say that a lot of people in the area knew these families because they're pretty tight-knit. So our hearts go out to them. And the other one, of course, is the school shooting happened in Nevada. So I don't really have a specific thing to say about that other than it's a terrible tragedy, and obviously our hearts go out to the families that are involved in both those situations.
I just wanted to address that October is Bully Awareness Month, and we, heard a lot about situations, and we've had some discussion on it. Some of the news stories are reporting that the Nevada shooting has some sort of connection with a bully type event or happening. So I think that it's really important that we evaluate and look at what our district is doing to be proactive instead of reactive in a lot of situations with our bullying. And I really like to, I talk about Rachel's Challenge. I think it's a fabulous type of program that is peer-to-peer, and it works as a positive culture change within the school, which is, it's not always just addressing the bullying, it's changing the culture within a school so that you can have a different school environment. But I have to add that works from the top down. Your administrators really need to support the program because you have so many staff members that are working on this with students, and I just really want to emphasize that it's important that we have our administrators be supportive of those programs in the school as well. And wanted to mention on the issue with the consent agenda, I'm hoping that we don't, I understand the feelings of folks on how they feel about the consent agenda voting, but I just hope we don't have to encounter that on a monthly basis because it is something that is completely legal. I look at it when we talk a lot about a business model and we want to look at things how compare it to business model. It is essentially a contract worker that they are contracting them to finish out the rest of the year. And the financial impact to me is not, it already has been, it's not a financial impact. So we are stewards of the money, and it isn't a financial impact. It's a savings for us to allow them to come back as a contract worker. But also, most importantly, what we need to address beyond the money is the transition and what's in the best interest of our students. When we have principals in those positions and in those schools that are known in the building, known in their environment, work with their staff members, let's let them finish out the year. It's not my position, or I believe any of us, to judge or guess or wonder what they are, why they're doing what they're doing, because it is completely within the law. So I think that we need to be respectful of that. And also, it's a great transition for new administrators that are going to come in for those schools. Again, it's in the best interest of the students. And working on the bond, I've been speaking at Kiwanis meetings, and I spoke at a Kiwanis meeting, and one of the things they talked about was the Key Club, and they had some Key Clubbers there presenting, and they really talked about the positive connection with Kiwanis and Key Clubbers in the schools and what they're doing, and I think it's really fabulous, and they have a waiting list at Liberty. So 80 students that want to get involved in Key Club. So I'm hoping to have a discussion with the principal to find out how that can come about, because they have 80 students that are willing to start that club. And thank you again, mentioning the bond. Thank you so much to Eric and Maureen, because your tireless efforts for phone banking, canvassing, talking to your members, just really working for the technology and safety bond is extremely appreciated. Having a very positive conversation with people on the doors and on the phones about this bond, and it's really about voter information, because as soon as we talk to people and we give them the information, the conversation, is like, well, yes, absolutely. So it's really about getting that out there, because it is the only thing on the ballot. So I urge, board members, please talk on the phone to folks, take a phone list, knock on canvassing, and anyway, I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much.
I want to thank Marva for all her help over the last 3 years that I've been on the board. You're the main reason why I'm such a good director.
Wow!
You're buttering me up. Say more pepperoni sticks.
I also only have a couple of things. One, I'm going to put on my drama mama hat. Hillhigh has a play, Midsummer's Night Dream is playing this weekend. It's very fun and low-cost entertainment. Liberty High School has their one act. Glencoe High School is 2 weeks away from opening their fall comedy, Southern Hospitality. And wanted to publicly thank Bag and Baggage, Scott Palmer and the folks that work there. They have this amazing program where students in Washington County get to come to their shows for free. They don't even give them bad seats. It's amazing. They get normal seats. As many as them come, they let them all in. There's not like a cap for the night. And our kids are getting to see real professional theater for free. It's, for our students, especially our students of poverty, it's life-changing for some of our high school students. And then they offer internships and work. They actually have a current focus student who's the assistant stage manager for this show. And so that's an awesome partnership. And as Janine referred to, ballots dropped last week. They are due back by November 5th, and we encourage everyone to read their ballots, look at the hundreds of folks who are in support of this, who've put their name in the voters pamphlet. I'm happy to share lots of green stickers if you'd like to wear a green sticker. I can help you out tonight. If you'd like a fancy green t-shirt, everyone to please vote and vote on time. And with that, thank you for staying so late. We're adjourned.